You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
You know this freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people standing as one in the name of liberty.
And welcome to America Off the Rails, March 2, 2018 edition. My name is Colonel Obvious. I'm sitting in for Rick Robinson on KLRN Radio. And today I want to talk a little bit about the gun control debate. We've been listening to it rage on social media, and largely what's been going on is people are just screaming at each other, and we're using a bunch of memes that really don't make a lot of sense if you look at them, and they haven't been fact-checked in large part. Both sides are doing this, of course. And with all of the screaming and changing of subject and lack of actual thought going into this, how do we expect anything to change? How do we expect anybody to come up with a solution that can actually be implemented and be effective? One thing I haven't seen anybody on social media talking about is how do we keep criminals from getting guns? Everybody's talking about how do we keep people from getting guns. And regardless of which side of the argument that you fall on, when you put in gun control laws, you are talking about controlling people who obey laws. So how can what kind of a solution can we come up with to keep guns out of the hands of criminals without limiting law-abiding citizens' ability to own or carry firearms, as is our right according to the Second Amendment? One of the things I want to go ahead and put out right off the bat is we have open phone lines right now. If you are listening live, the phone number is 405-200-1715. And as long as you can stay on topic of how can we stop the tide, the flow of illegally obtainable weapons without infringing on law-abiding citizens' right to carry and own guns, then I'm open. You can't see it because this is radio, and I'm actually used to doing live video streams, but I have a notepad, and if you have constructive ideas, I'll write them down. I have requested a meeting with my local state senators to discuss what I've already come up with. And if you have an idea of how to make what I've come up with better, or an idea that will help stem the flow of illegal weapons, I want to hear it. So once again, that number is 405-200-1715. Now, gun control is a very complex issue. There's many facets. And as long as we keep changing the subject and getting distracted, we'll never make any progress. So if you want to call in and you want to talk about, well, we need to get rid of the NRA, I will listen to you as long as you can explain to me how the NRA's demise will keep criminals from being able to get guns and not infringe on the right of law-abiding citizens. So to make any progress, we got to stay focused on this one facet at a time. We got to keep our tempers in check, stay open-minded, and focus on realistic, effective solutions. If you tell me that, well, guns should never have been invented, okay, yeah, that would keep guns out of criminals' hands, but it's not really realistic. Guns have already been invented, and you are not going to melt them all down. You're not going to be able to collect them all. Especially not in America. It's not realistic, and therefore it's ultimately not helpful. So where are criminals getting guns? As I've been looking around, the gun laws for sale, to the laws to buy guns, vary from state to state, and they are very, very loosely enforced. And one of the reasons that they're loosely enforced is A, our background checks don't work, and B, there's if I'm as a private citizen, if you wanted to buy a gun from me, private citizen to private citizen, there are no checks and balances in place. So here is the idea that I have had, and I very much want to hear what you have to say about it. Prerequisites, things that would have to happen in order for this to work. There would have to be federally mandated minimum requirements, and in fact, Senator Paul, and the other thing is background checks are going to have to become effective. They just are. Senator Paul Ryan actually was talking about the part of one of the bills that's attached to H.R. 38, which is reciprocity for concealed carry permit holders in states that issue concealed carry permits. And he had this to say about the add-on to the bill.
The Fix NICS bill, which is part of our broader bill, does fix the background check system.
And we'll see if he's correct, but that is one of the prerequisites. And the federally mandated minimum requirements would have to be instituted as well. Now, before we get started, Senator Marco Rubio says something here without saying anything, and I'm going to go ahead and play this clip for you, or actually the producer will.
And I would add, though, that if we do something, it should be something that works.
If we do something, we should do something that works. Okay, so what is that something? Here's, just to go off on a side tangent for just a second, here's a thought that I have. Look up the word representative in the dictionary. It does not say leader. The job of representatives is to represent us. You should not hear a representative say, I think. You should hear representatives say, my constituents think, or my constituents want. And if you're listening to this live or in syndication, and you are a senator or you are a representative, and you are lining your pockets at the expense of the opinions of we who voted you into office, shame on you. And since you guys aren't coming up with something that works because you're too busy pandering for votes to come up with actual effective solutions that can be implemented and keep us safe, my goal here is to encourage the Americans whom you serve to come up with, as Senator Marco Rubio says, something that works. Most of us carry driver's licenses. Those of us who do not drive, most of the time have state IDs. You need this to drive a car, purchase alcohol, purchase tobacco, open bank accounts. Most, and in some states, vote. Most people have IDs, state-issued ID cards. If you do not have one, then what we may have to do is put one out. I know that Missouri, where I live, is requiring ID to vote. But as such, they are providing a method where if you do not have an ID and the only reason you need an ID is to vote, they will provide a method for you to get one at no charge. Now, that the ease with which you can get a state ID, and largely most of us have one so that we can drive cars. If you are interested in owning or carrying firearms, getting a state-issued ID shouldn't be a problem. And most of us, as I said, already have one. How hard would it be? Because you need endorsements to drive a cab or to drive a big truck or to drive a motorcycle. There are endorsements that say, hey, look, if this guy is driving without corrective lenses, he's not supposed to be driving. And that gives the police officers, our law enforcement, the ability to quickly look up information on how you should be, what you should be allowed to drive and what equipment you should have to drive it. So let's say that when you go get your driver's license, if you want to carry or own, again, according to federally mandated minimums, and the background checks must be replaced. For me, it'd probably be Greene County Sheriff's Office, because that's where I applied for and received my concealed carry permit after going through all of the things that you have to do to go through that. So you go to your local law enforcement office or a state police office, and you have them fingerprint you. You have them do the background check, whatever it is that your state's minimum requirements are, and then you take that to the DMV and you get an endorsement on your driver's license. Now, that's kind of an issue, because why should I, a law-abiding individual who's already been through the training and has already paid the money and gotten the background checks and the fingerprints have been cleared and tested and now can carry, why should I have to do that to get it on my driver's license? Because law enforcement, one of the reasons that we're having so much trouble, I believe, with gun violence, and keep in mind, we've got to balance gun control with gun rights and gun violence, is because law enforcement has no way right now to determine if you're stopped in traffic and he sees you carrying a firearm. In Missouri, it's constitutional carry. How is that officer supposed to be able to tell if you are legally able to carry one? Well, they can look up your driver's license. If you have the endorsements on there, that's all they need to know. They don't need to know what guns you own or how many, but if you have one, they can easily look up that you are allowed to carry one. And just like if you get caught driving a vehicle without a license, if you are then caught carrying a gun when you are not supposed to be, that's a person that the law enforcement can easily get off the street. So that is kind of an idea that I have been building on for the last week of how we could change the laws to not infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens, but make it more difficult for criminals to carry guns. One of the other things you have to look at is, where are criminals getting guns? Well, again, private citizen to private citizen sales are not tracked. They are not limited. If I sell to a private citizen, I don't have to do a background check on you. You don't have to you don't have to prove to me you've had a background check. None of that has to happen. So a way we can limit that is from person to person sales. Show me your ID. Show me that you're allowed to have this gun as a responsible gun owner. I'm not going to sell a gun to somebody who does not have that endorsement on their driver's license. So that enables me to check and see. Now, a possible addition to this, and this is one of the things that I'd love to hear comments on, is taking it to your local law enforcement officer. He verifies the endorsements, he or she, and then even possibly runs the serial number of the firearm to see if it's been used in a crime or is an item of interest in any active investigations. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that means we have to have a gun database, and I've heard people argue for and against. And these are the discussions that we need to have in a civil tone with, creative thought, rather than, just like I said, slinging memes on Twitter. That's not how you make change. Now, I've heard also people talk about a gun show loophole. People go to gun shows, sellers, they have a bunch of guns, they don't do background checks, and they don't have to. Well, this is what you do. One of the things that people who sell at gun shows do is they have receipts. They can tell a law enforcement officer after the fact whether or to whom they sold. Well, if I go to a gun show and I want to buy a gun and I have to show my driver's license and he has to have a copy of it to prove that I have the endorsements, number one, that ensures that the police are okay with me purchasing, owning a firearm because I have been through the prerequisites to do that legally. And two, if I am a criminal and I go to a gun show, I'm a convicted felon or any of the disqualifying factors that will cause that mean I'm not supposed to be able to buy a gun, and I go to a gun show and somebody sells me one without getting a copy of my driver's license showing the endorsements, that's going to close the gun show loophole effectively if that is chased down and prosecuted, the people that are selling these weapons indiscriminately. This, again, if you're selling a gun and you have something you can easily check on a driver's license, like an endorsement, that means if you don't have that endorsement, I shouldn't sell you this gun. So here's some questions. Excuse me. Do you think police should also check the serial numbers? If you think you should have to go to a police office, police station, and have an officer sign off on the bill of sale just to show that he's checked. If that is the case, should they have a gun serial number database? There's two different ways that can go. Now, enforcing, what should the penalty be if, say, I am pulled over for speeding, the officer that pulls me over notices that I'm carrying a firearm, and I don't have the appropriate endorsements on my driver's license, meaning I haven't taken the time to go down to the DMV to get them, or I am actually not legally supposed to have a gun in my possession. So what should the process be? And there's a bunch of different ways that we can go with it. Also, if you are caught selling firearms and you are not getting proof of endorsements, you're not doing the checking that you're supposed to be doing, what should the penalty be for that? Personally, I believe jail time. I believe that we should take measures to stem the flow of firearms to people who are not supposed to have them. Now, it doesn't help that we can't currently trust the FBI, Department of Justice, but that's another episode, if not a whole nother series. So what penalties should there be without carrying without endorsement or not having proof of checking endorsements? Again, the number is 405-200-1715. And I would love to hear from you, your thoughts about any of these things. However, if we get anybody, because we've been pushing this all week, and I'm interested if there's anybody in America right now who is interested in putting some thought into finding an effective solution, or if we're all too busy slinging memes on Twitter. So we've got a few minutes to go before we hit the middle of the hour. And so what I'm going to do is, again, I am usually in a place that is live and is live regularly, and I'm used to seeing a lot of feedback from people in chat and such. And to be honest with you, this is the first time I have ever actually guest hosted a radio show, so I am a little nervous. However, I am dedicated to finding workable, effective solutions to what is the root cause of the problem. There's a study done, and I actually reference this in my letter to both Senator Roy Blunt and Senator Claire McCaskill, who are the senators in my home state of Missouri, by Mr. Lott, that says concealed carry permit owners in I believe it was Texas and North Carolina, I'd have to go check, are 6 times less likely to break the law than police. So why are we going to limit the good guys' access to guns and not limit any? If you're not concerned at all about breaking the law, because there is a law. Turns out murder's illegal, And turns out, if you're a felon, you're not supposed to have a gun. And yet, we read about Chicago all the time. And these are repeat offenders. These are people that have not only been accused of crimes, they're probably in a lot of cases not mentally stable, and yet they have them. These are people that are not, we are talking about people who are not concerned about the laws you write. How can we keep guns out of their hands? And this is what nobody that I am aware of is talking about. And it boggles me because we have law enforcement left, right, and center, our senators, our representatives, and we're all talking about abolishing the NRA and getting rid of guns entirely. And what you are doing is talking about the people who actually care about these laws you're making. Do I believe that maybe enforcement and current gun control could be tightened up, streamlined? Yes, I do. Do I have some ideas for that? Yes, I do. But again, that's going to be another episode because we need to focus on this one facet. And in my opinion, keeping in mind that it's gun control versus gun rights versus gun violence, this is the most important. This is the thing that we can do that will have the most effect, is keeping guns from being readily available to people who don't care whether or not they are breaking the laws that our representatives and senators are making in D.C.
I'm going to butt in here for just a moment. Yes, my name's Jesse. I'm actually the producer tonight. But I decided I can't stay quiet. Sorry. But, okay, what about a first-time gun owner? Would that mean that they have to buy their first firearm at a gun store?
I don't think it matters if you are a repeat gun owner. I mean, I own several firearms and a couple of rifles. I have a buddy who owns all kinds of weapons, but it doesn't, and my daughter actually went to the concealed carry weapons class and got the background check and does not own a gun. So she would be a first-time gun owner. And if she has done what you have to do in the state of Missouri to own or carry, she'll have that on her driver's license. So it doesn't mean that you have to own a gun. It means that you have gone through the legal steps to be legally allowed to own and carry.
Okay, so you're proposing something like a class for everybody who wants to own a firearm, like the concealed carry class?
I think if you want to concealed carry, and again, this is getting into kind of streamlining the laws, the existing laws, but I do believe that if you want to concealed carry, you need to go to a class just so that you, if for nothing else, understand the laws in your state. But just to carry or own, I don't think a concealed carry. I think a safe handling and a test to make sure that you can safe handle. And this is one of the things that the NRA does, is offers these classes and can certify you in safe practices involving firearms. So you get that, and you go to the law enforcement office, you get your background check or whatever it is that your state says you need to have, and you get that endorsement on your license. It's just like having a driver's license in general. It doesn't mean you have to own a car. It doesn't mean you have to drive a car. It means you have done what you have to do in order to be able to legally drive a vehicle. And this would be the same thing for legally owning or carrying a firearm. It's easily checked by people who sell firearms. It's easily checked by law enforcement. And it's something that's easily seen by anyone. You can show them that card, and it shows that you have been checked. You've gotten your background checks and whatever else your state wants you to do in order to carry.
All right. Well, I'm going to play Guess What Time It Is.
I'm guessing it's the middle of the hour, and it's time for a quick word from our sponsors.
Bingo!
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
And we're back, right? We are back, yes?
Of course.
Okay. My name is Colonel Obvious. I am sitting in for Rick Robinson for KLRN Radio, and this is America Off the Rails. It is a podcast that is found on your favorite places to find podcasts, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, many, many more. And real quick, starting off the bottom of the hour, I would like we were listening to clips during the ad roll, and Jessica was showing me some clips, I guess, of a law enforcement officer that you interviewed recently?
Yes. On YouTube, he's known as Mike the Cop, and I was lucky enough to get him on my show once. And I pulled a couple of audio clips ages ago when there was some other gun debate raging. And here's his take on open carry. And remember, he is a law enforcement officer. He wears the uniform. So if anybody's a target, he is.
I fully support open carry, and I think it would be cool to, go to the grocery store or wherever else and people just have guns on them. I don't find that intimidating as a police officer. I don't find that more risky for society. I would venture to guess that based on every statistic or understanding I have of how guns work in the world, that if anything, it would reduce the number of crimes, because the places that we see hit with these attacks are soft targets. In almost every case, a gun-free zone.
I think he makes quite the point with the gun-free zone.
He does, and in order to even come up with the idea that I had about the endorsements, going to get the prerequisites, getting the endorsements on the driver's license, what I had to do was I had to put myself in the mindset of, if I was going to commit a crime, so now I'm not really worried about breaking the law because I'm planning on it. Where would I go to get a gun? How would I get a hold of one? And then I worked backwards from that. How can I stop myself now from getting a hold of one of these? And, putting yourself back in the mind of a criminal. Look, I want to get on the news. I want my 15 minutes of fame. I want to commit suicide by cop, whatever the reason is. I'm a disgruntled employee. But let's go with, I want to get my name in the news, because let's face it, that's one of the best ways to get your 15 minutes of fame right now. Well, I can go to this school right here that's a gun-free zone, and I know for a fact that, yes, I'm breaking the law, but I'm the only one in that school that's going to have a firearm. Or I can go down to this other school, and I think Oklahoma is actually doing this, where some of the teachers are armed, and I don't know which ones they are. Which school do you think I'm going to hit?
Obviously, the gun-free zone.
Oh, go ahead.
Obviously, you're going to go after the gun-free zone.
Sure, I know I've got the advantage, and I'm going to press it. Now, I was a firefighter for a long time here in Southwest Missouri, and I had the opportunity to know personally, because of working with professionally several police officers. And then I got out of the fire service. Some of them were still on the force, and I remember going out to check my mail, and there's a couple of cops standing around in the parking lot, and I don't know, it was I don't know, some kids had let the air out of some tires or something. And, one of them looked at me and said, because they knew I had a concealed carry permit, said, "Hey, are you carrying?" And I said, "No, why should I? You're right here. I'm just going to check my mail." And his response was, "Why not?" And the more I've talked to law enforcement officers about this kind of thing, they do support it. As a firefighter, I can tell you that in order to hit our next ISO level, we had to have our response times be 5 minutes. And 5 minutes does not sound like a lot. But imagine trying to hold your breath for 5 minutes. Imagine being held at gunpoint for 5 minutes. Very rarely did the ambulance or the police beat us to a scene. We had a time limit that we had to be there by, and generally we were first. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a girlfriend. I have a daughter. I have family that I care about. I have friends that I care about. And if somebody is shooting at them, I would hope that someone has gone through the prerequisites, a good law-abiding citizen with a firearm who has gone through these prerequisites and been trained will be there to defend my family, assuming I'm not, until the police can arrive on scene. And that's something that you never think about that until it happens to you. But how long would you want to be helpless in a situation where a criminal has complete power over you and can end your life at their choosing? Or would you rather be in a situation where you can defend yourself?
I actually am in a situation where I can defend myself. I am a concealed carry permit holder, and I do my own show. It's called Jesse's POV, for those of you who are new to the show. And I actually do a segment once a week called Good Guys with Guns. And it's about those concealed carry permit holders who stepped up.
That is another thing. Guys, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Both sides, Democrats and Republicans, have accused different media outlets of being biased. And they're both right. CNN, the mainstream media in large part, has become reality TV. There's a couple of things that you can do. One, when the host of the show says, the end leading up to a commercial, a lot of times they'll say something like clean up the city, or he's promised to clean up the city. And then you'll see an ad about soap. So this stuff is scripted. They're not idiots. And a lot of this stuff is absolutely as biased as the memes you see on social media. You cannot believe any of it. Do your own research. I challenge you to honestly look at any of the gun violence or gun control or any of the gun statistics from the last 48, 72 hours, 1 week on Twitter and find one that is actually a factual representation of what's going on and has not been spun in one direction or the other. You can't do it because those kinds of facts don't get retweets. Thoughts? Not sure where that came from. Thoughts and solutions don't get retweets. What get retweets are witty responses and oh my God, we have to do this or we're going to die. It's the apocalypse. Don't even get me started on that one. Stay on topic, Bill.
Well,
but see,
in order to get you back on topic, I've got one more audio clip, and this was, again, taken from my interview with Mike the Cop. And it's a very short one.
So if firearms were more prevalent, more openly prevalent, I honestly don't think that we would see the same types of attacks happening.
I absolutely agree. And here's the thing to keep in mind. If I see imagine this, right? You're anti-gun. You don't, and I don't mean anti-gun. I mean, you lean towards we don't need to be carrying guns. And you see somebody with a gun on their hip or over their shoulder, and you could ask them I guarantee you, if you see me carrying, you happen to see my shirt or jacket blow back, and you see that I'm wearing a firearm, and you ask me for my ID, assuming that they were, this was to be enacted, I would have no problem showing you that. I would have no problem showing you my license, cop or not. It wouldn't bother me a bit. What would bother me is to be going into a place and not know. And I can kind of see where that would be, where people would be coming from for that. But if you can card somebody for whether or not they're old enough to drink, you card somebody to find out whether or not they're allowed to be carrying a weapon in your state. But I would love to see that. That wouldn't be intimidating to me at all, because I know I can send somebody I love into that place with that person that's been through the training. And if something goes down in there, my family's protected. I'm looking at the chat room here, and I'm not seeing anything as far as that. I do want to bring up another point, because I know that we're just getting down to the last quarter hour of this show, but this is a topic that, while related, does not actually talk about stemming the tide, but it is related. We the people, whom the Constitution limits federal power and stuff to protect. That's us, we the people. If you read Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the 9th and 10th Amendments say, Article 1, Section 8 is a list of powers that the federal government is supposed to have. And the 9th and 10th Amendments say that if it's not on that list, It belongs to the state or the people, and the federal government won't try to get it. And the people, see, back when representatives and senators came about, back when we invented the position, it took weeks to get from Missouri to D.C. because you had to go on horseback. And of course not, the 300,000 people that live in Springfield aren't going to ride horses to Washington, D.C. every month just so that we can throw a vote. So we have a representative. That's your job now, is to go back and forth from here to there and carry our votes, our ideas, and the solutions that we want to Washington, D.C. Now, the senators are a little bit different. We have state governments as well, with representatives that represent us in those state governments, and the senators are supposed to represent the state governments who actually are, again, supposed to be representing the residents of that state and the interest of the residents of that state in Congress, in Washington, D.C. That's not happening. What's happening is we have people accepting money to vote certain ways, and your feelings or my feelings, who cares? I'm getting paid. And again, if you know a senator or a representative who's doing that, overall ignoring their own constituency, shame on them. That's part of the problem.
I've got the perfect audio clip for that.
Ooh, I love to dance a little sidestep. Now they see me, now they don't. I've come and gone. And ooh, I love to sweep around the white step. Cut a little swat and leave the people alone.
That's actually what's going on. They're dancing a jig up there. How do you go and be elected by people who are specifically what amounts to hiring you to take their voice to Washington, D.C. for $174,000 a year, and your bottom line goes up by millions and millions in 4 years? Shame on you. Shame on you. You are not representing the interests of the people whose interests you are supposed to be representing. You are representing your own interests. And that is reason number one that we are having issues like this, is because the people in power want to stay in power, and they're now saying, whatever the party line is, sure, abolish the NRA, whatever it is that you people want, we're going to give to you, free college and stuff like that. And then it never happens. And thing two, guys, it's not all their fault. If you're listening to this show, it is not all their fault, because we, the people, we give them that power, and then we ignore them. And we don't bother coming up with solutions to send with them to Washington. We allow them to get away with this. And I believe that largely what you see on social media right now is a bunch of far left fringe that are never Trump, always Clinton, or always Obama. And it's what a buddy of mine, Al Stroh, calls team player politics. Or you have extreme fringe on the right, and it is always Trump and never Obama. And they are just firing this artillery, this mean, worthless, meaningless artillery at each other. But the very, very large majority of Americans are in the middle, just saying, shut up, shut up. And what we need to do is band together, get together, come up with creative solutions. And yeah, gun control is not the only thing that's broken. For sure. Find something that's important to you and get a group together, a brainstorming group. Get people from both sides of the argument so that you can throw, as bad as it sounds, throw cold water on the idea. Why won't that work? Where are the holes in that? In a few minutes, the show's going to end. And right before that, I'm going to give contact information for myself and Rick, and I'm going to allow Jessica to give her contact information as well. If you've got reasons why this will work, the solution that I've laid out today, or at least it's not even a full solution, it's just the beginning of one, or how to make it better, or why it won't work in its current form and how it could work better, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you because I've got a meeting with my two senators since H.R. 38 is stalled in the Senate. to talk to them about enacting this very solution and maybe getting their help in fleshing this out to where it will actually be effective. And I don't care if you are pro everybody should have guns or you are nobody should have guns. Guns are evil. If you can stick to the topic of how do we keep criminals from getting guns, how do we get guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them and they can't buy them, I want to hear it. Because you know what? I may not add it, but it deserves to be heard. Everybody's ideas used to be heard. And I'm just going to go on a little diatribe here about this. The reason government used to work a hell of a lot better than it does now, there were farmers in Congress. There were school teachers in Congress. There were lawyers in Congress, but they didn't have truck drivers back then. Now, if it was as then, hello, Ron, in the chat room, Ron Dansbury, we would have, like I said, school teachers, farmers, firefighters, sure, some lawyers, some over-the-road truck drivers, everything. We had a little bit of everything. It was of the people, and therefore it was for the people. And what would happen is somebody would say, hey, look, we need to fix education, so let's do this. And a teacher would say, that is a good idea, but I think we can make it better. And then a truck driver would say, well, that approach as it is will hurt the truck driving industry. But if we change it like this, it still is effective and it doesn't hurt anything. And what we have now is a government that is of the attorneys, by the attorneys, for the attorneys. There aren't those other things in Congress, and as such, excuse me, what we have to do is we have to, I'm not sure what that was.
The train wreck that is Congress today.
The train wreck. So as such, though, we've got to get people together ourselves. Get groups from both sides of the argument, get different people with different kinds of careers in there to get different points of view. Let's actually make some creative, effective, realistic, implementable solutions, and then go visit, write letters, get in front of your representatives and congressmen and tell them to take these effective solutions to Washington and stop being a bunch of useless idiots collecting a paycheck.
Great diatribe. Catch your breath. I couldn't agree more. And like I said, that sound effect that sounded like a bunch of pots and pans. Yeah, this one. That's my current opinion of Congress as a whole. House, Senate, all thrown into one big pot.
Well, and let me tell you what's going on. HR 38, for those of you that don't know, I'll name names. Ted Lieu, I called him out on it on Twitter when he said this. HR 38 is a bill that will allow me, because I'm going to California in a couple of months. I can't carry concealed in California, even though California issues concealed carry permits, because this has not been passed yet. There are, just a quick civics lesson, there are 435 representatives, and over half of them co-sponsored this bill. Where is it now? It's in the Senate, languishing in the Senate Judiciary Committee, waiting to die. Why? Because everybody's screaming about how gun control needs to happen, and it's not popular. And that needs to stop. Granted, this is not the only issue, and I don't want, if you are listening to this and you believe that gun control should be very much tightened, those are valid concerns, and I don't want to negate those or say that your opinion is not worth anything. I will listen. I will listen to that, and we need to come up with a solution for a bunch of these different facets, but get people together from both sides.
Colonel,
go ahead.
Quick question. What state are you from?
I'm in Missouri.
Okay. Michigan actually had a bill that I don't remember if it passed or not. I haven't taken the time to dig it up, which I actually called sensible gun reform. And that's pretty rare to hear those words out of my mouth. Now, what they were proposing was, all those gun-free zones, the mall, the movie theater, your kid's school where you can't carry?
Yep.
Turn them all into concealed carry only zones. So you couldn't open carry at your kid's school, the mall, or the movie theater, but you could still conceal carry as long as you had a concealed carry permit.
Sure, and this goes out to that John Lott actually, and I can give you a link if you want. Feel free to Twitter at me or email me or whatever. Like I said, I'll be giving you a website where you can get a hold of me later. I'd be happy to give you the link to the full study. Okay, I'm not just mindlessly regurgitating Facebook memes and Twitter memes. I will give you the link, and you can read the whole thing. Where concealed carry weapon holders in Texas and North Carolina, I believe, was where the study was done, are 6 times less likely to break the law than police officers. That's the kind of person I want to be a first responder if somebody is attacking my family. Okay, we are starting to get close to the end of the hour, so really quickly before we run out of time, I want to let you guys know again, my name is Colonel Obvious. I'm sitting in for Rick Robinson on KLRN Radio, and this is America Off the Rails. You can find Rick Robinson on Twitter by looking up at Radio Host Rick. You can find KLRN Radio by going to at KLRN Radio or simply visiting KLRNradio.com. You can find me in either one of my my personas by going to muchmoregooder.com. I'm actually broadcasting out of Much More Gooder Studios right now, and on Twitter, the persona that I am currently portraying, Colonel Obvious, would be at COL_obvious. And again, if you're hearing this, even in syndication and it's not live and the phone number's not there anymore, I want to hear from you. If you have effective solutions or ideas, I want to hear from you. I want to know what they are, because I am going to go visit my senators, and I want your input on a working solution that I can have them take to Washington for me. Jess, do you want to give out your contact information? Where can people find you?
I most happily will. You can find me on Twitter at Radio Host Jesse, and you can email me at the station at jessespov@klrnradio.com. And for the record, Rick can be emailed at the station at rick@klrnradio.com. And there's always the contact form on the website.
Just real quick to reiterate it, because I'm hoping that you guys that are listening, and gals, okay, are fired up and have ideas. This is what we're talking about. How do we, how do we keep people who should not have guns from getting them? How do we keep criminals from illegally purchasing firearms? The idea is basically to allow people to go to their local law enforcement, get their background checks, get their fingerprints, get whatever their state demands, have a document printed out by the law enforcement agency that you can take to the DMV and get your endorsements right there on your driver's license. Now, in enforcement, what should the penalty be if you are caught with a firearm and you do not have the proper endorsements? What should the penalty be if you are selling firearms to people who don't have the proper endorsements? When you do person-to-person sales of firearms, how should we limit that? Should we just make the seller check? Should the driver's license to see if it's got the endorsements? Should we have you take it to a police department where they can sign off that both people have the endorsements? Should then they be able to run the serial number of the firearm itself to see if it's an item of note or interest in an investigation? Should we be doing this stuff? If so, why? If not, why not? I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think, and I want people who are not afraid to stop for a second, think about the problem, get it from all angles, and actually provide meaningful, effective solutions to the problem that we have. And the problem that we have is a gun violence problem. Again, with that, I'm getting messages that we are running just a little bit ready to run out of time. One more time, I'm Colonel Obvious, sitting in for rowdy radio host Rick Robinson on KLRN Radio, and this has been America Off the Rails for March the 2nd, 2018.